A lot of people ask, like, how can I astral project? How come I don't remember my past lives? We don't need to. That's the point. We don't need to. If we did, then we would learn from our mind and we would act from our mind. The point of the game is to remember through our heart space, to learn from the space of heart, and then learn about love from a new point, from a beginner's point. And maybe you feel the same way, but I feel like the religions were a map, almost like for human beings to look at it and then find their own way. But our human brain likes to complicate things, so a lot of people got stuck on their map and saying, my map is better than your map and your map is wrong. And they started learning with their minds instead of focusing on their hearts, and instead of focusing on what Buddha's heart was saying, what Jesus' heart was saying.
Arke, welcome to the Way of the Heart.
Thank you, Natalia, for having me. I feel honored and very excited and nervous a little, to be honest, but very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you in the podcast, and thank you so much for sharing already your heart by opening up and saying that you feel a little nervous. I usually feel nervous before starting the conversations as well. I'm really, really honored that you said yes to being in this podcast, and just to be able to share with you a little time and hear from you and connect with you directly. Because I was telling you before, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts episodes in which you have been a guest. And ever since I heard you for the first time, I was like, my heart just like felt some type of connection with you. And now that I was putting together a list of guests that I would like to have in the podcast, you came to my heart, and I'm so glad that you said yes to being here.
Thank you. I'm flattered, but appreciate it. And thank you, yes, for listening to my podcast. And I was very happy when I saw the name of your podcast and I watched one of your videos. And I've seen you before, so I think I've seen her. And when I heard you say the things that I used to mention and your purpose that you were talking about, I just felt, wow, I wanna connect. I wanna talk to her. And I just was very happy and grateful that there are people like you, in the world. It made me very happy.
I feel the same way. I think there's a reason why when we first heard or saw each other, it almost feels like I've seen you before. You know, that's happened to me before, that I meet people and I'm like, I think I've seen you before, but I know there's no way because we've grown up in like different countries, like, you know, but there's some type of resonance that I guess the way that our brain processes that is like, oh, I've seen you before, but maybe there's something beyond that. And I'm sure we're going to get to some of those things during this conversation. You have a very, very interesting, unique, inspiring story. And I think I would love to, you know, give you time to share your story. I usually like to begin with my guests knowing about where they were born, what has shaped them. And of course, you know, your story is very rich. And I would love to hear more about that if you are willing to share some of that with us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying those things. I appreciate that. I think my life's journey is as unique as everybody else's. I was born in Kazakhstan and raised in Kazakhstan as well. I left after high school. I left after high school and moved to Australia. I moved because my mom passed away, and before that it was just me, my mom, my brother, that was how I grew up. So there was no religion or whatsoever or spirituality in my upbringing. However, my mom's side was intuitive and had a lot of psychic gifts and abilities and shamanic and healing things they used to do. And I grew up in that, was exposed to that. But before, I guess, after I moved to Australia, I was just trying to survive, trying to earn money, learn a language. So I learned English by working in hospitality, doing the dishes and making sandwiches and being a waitress and trying to find my way to support myself and my brother. And I was basically living in a survival mode for many years, and fast forward at the age of 23, I was deep in my suffering. I was working a lot, 2-3 jobs. Money wasn't enough for my university, for my visa, and it just felt like I was stuck in a loop and nothing in life made sense. And to be honest, after my mom's death, I kind of forgotten about anything that could be important, like God and those things. I just kind of rejected and resented that a lot. And I was in a lot of pain and felt helpless, miserable. I was struggling with depression and lots of suicidal attempts, and I just didn't know how to deal with it, how to deal with the fact that I feel emotions and how to numb those emotions. And I just remember this moment where I was struggling a lot. It was challenging. I was getting bullied a lot, especially when you're an immigrant. It happens a lot in a new place, in a new environment. And hospitality isn't very friendly when you're young and you don't know yourself, when you are vulnerable and weak. So I was on my way back home from work. I think it was around midnight, finished my job in hospitality. And for the first time, I saw the full moon. I stopped, sat down, and I cried. I felt all the emotions and the pain and everything, anger. I felt anger for the first time. I would suppress those things. I wouldn't allow myself feel anything, but I decided to, okay, come on, let's just cry. And I was crying, watching the moon, and I decided to pray. Just talk to God, you could say, but I said, okay, my conversation started with, okay, hi God, if you're there, but if you're not there, that's okay. I'm just talking to myself. I'm a mad woman, that's fine. But if you're there, just know that you're stupid and I'm angry at you and I hate you. I said, you took my mom. My life has no meaning. I don't know what I'm doing here. And I tried killing myself, but you wouldn't allow me kill myself. For some reason, I was saved multiple times. And I said, well, you're not allowing me kill myself, and you're not allowing me live, and I don't know the meaning of anything. I don't think I'm needed here. And I cried, and I said, if you could just show me the way, if you could tell me that there is meaning to my life, that there is something that I can do in this world, if you could just give me one more chance and show me the direction. I said, I swear I'll do anything that you show me. I will take all challenges that you will throw at me, but just show me the meaning, the purpose, because I've already suffered. I thought, look, I don't think anything else can surprise me, but just give me something. Said, I promise I will work hard. If you help me a little, I will work hard. And after that night, miraculous things started happening. I had this out of body experience where I met my mom in the spiritual realm, where I talked to her. I finally said, I love you and I'm sorry. I finally was able to express the things I never said. And those are the things that matter in life. But I guess I've forgotten when I was a teenager. So I said that, and it felt healing. It truly felt like the thing that I needed the most. And I couldn't believe what was happening. I was like in the spiritual realm, touching my mom, poking my mom and saying, but you're dead, you can't be here, this is unreal, but okay, here we go. So I said the things and I hugged her tightly. I felt warmth, and she looked beautiful, she looked angelic, she looked young and happy. I just remember looking into her eyes and seeing the whole universe, the beauty of everything, that beauty of God, and whatever you want to say, you want to call it, the unconditional love. And I slowly felt like the life I had on earth was just a dream. And I was surprised that I was taking it so seriously. I was complaining there. I was saying, oh, my life was so hard. And yeah, it felt so healing. And then this bright white source-like light, very loving, very healing light, started covering us. And then I noticed that I'm falling back asleep, which meant that I am either gonna wake up from that beautiful dream or I'm gonna go back to earth. So I was really I didn't want to let go of my mom, so I started grabbing her shoulder and hugging her tightly. But the next day I woke up, actually in that moment I woke up in my bed crying, and I still felt somebody holding my hand, and it felt warm. I just couldn't stop crying, and I felt and knew that it was real, that it happened, and it just felt freeing. The years of depression and suicide and all of those things were gone. And the reason was because I couldn't let go of my mom for a very long time. Especially when I think many people can relate, when you're a kid. I thought that my life's purpose is to live for my mom. My dream was to grow up so I can give my mom everything. Make her travel, make her work less, maybe not work at all. Prove her that what she's given and what she's done for us is worth something. And that dream, when it was shattered, I lost the purpose of my life. So I was living in survival, not knowing why am I here. And then it made sense to feel free, because I felt like I said the things I expressed, and I also saw her face and that she's okay. Now, fast forward, my life started changing rapidly. The heavy thoughts that I had from depression, the negativity of my mind has disappeared. It was silent. I was fully present and super conscious for some time. It didn't last too long, but it felt like a super ability. I could feel people's emotions. I could read their thoughts. I could see beyond their masks and beyond their defense. And I could see all my bullies and people that have been abusive. And I just felt love. But I also realized that I shouldn't be there, that I could place a boundary and I could leave. And I just felt this courage to step up and speak how I feel and stand my way and stand my ground and protect those who are weak as well. And that was life-changing. Yeah, and a lot of out-of-body experiences started happening after that. And I remembered a lot of things from my childhood. That it started actually when I was 4. I had this out of body ability to be out of body, and I was a very curious child. I would tell my mom that, oh, you're gonna die soon. When I would say, you're gonna die when I grow up, and dad's gonna die, grandpa, grandma, everybody's gonna die. And I would see the things beforehand and I would tell her, I chose my birthday, 24th of September. It was really, to me, it was like a special thing when I was a kid. I was telling her and other relatives, this is what I chose. And telling kids around me that if they can think of something, that they can make it come true. And I was practicing that every day. I couldn't ride a bike, so I thought I would go to bed and I would think before bed how I can ride a bike and visualize and then see it in my dream and then do it the next day. And I would tell children around me, neighbors, like, you can do it. You can do it. If you think of something, you do it. So the spiritual path, it started early, but it was on and off. Obviously, without any guidance, it was shut down. But growing up till the age of 7, I grew up in a lot of abuse and domestic violence. So, but then now that I look back, it was the most beautiful experience that I've had. When I had one of my out-of-body experiences, people that hurt me or were abusive, I saw them on the other side and we talked consciously. We were very conscious. I was aware that it wasn't real, that we are not on Earth. We wouldn't talk like that. And they apologized. They explained that actually they love me. And this is a fact. Those who hurt you on Earth, they are the ones who love you the most. They are the ones who choose when they decide to come to Earth with you to hurt you, and that's a very big decision to make. Like, I'm gonna be treating you like that. That's a big decision, and they sign up for that because they love you, because it's the lesson you need. And yeah, it was eye-opening for me. And I think I was 23 when I shared my journey on an American radio station, which it was a very I shared on YouTube. I just made a 5 minutes video of telling my pre-birth story, and after that I started getting invitations to share my journey, and many people resonated with it. And including you. So I would say the journey, it's like everybody else's. The lessons I'm learning are just like everybody else's, but the experiences are different. And the way I'm learning is different. But the question I had, I asked God, you can say, in the very beginning, the source. So why am I here was answered. And I was here for the same reason everybody else was here, to learn about love. And it was so simple. When I was there and they said the answer is love, I was like, oh, okay, got it. And then I got back to Earth, started living my life, and I'm like, that makes no sense. So, absolute no sense. But it does make sense. I learned that we are at our core love, and when we come to Earth, when we are born here, we are given ego here, which only serves on Earth. We don't have the ego on the other side, but it's only purely for Earth. And then you start experiencing the filtered emotions that aren't love, which is like anger and jealousy and bitterness and sadness and all of those things you start experiencing because at your core you are love. And then the way to heal those things is again by love, going back to the core. But when you are experiencing those filtered emotions on Earth, that serves massive purpose in expansion, and you start unlocking new ways for compassion and for love. And yeah, that was one of the main mind-blowing things that happened. But I guess, yeah, one thing that helped me in my journey was the pre-birth experience I had, which made me always believe that there is something bigger, there is a mission, there is something I was waiting for.
Was this memory of your pre-birth, and I would love to hear about it, was this a memory that came to you after you were 23 years old, or was this in your memory before then?
Thank you for the question. It was before, but I blocked it. It's something I told my mom when I was little, when I was 4, and she was breastfeeding my brother. So I told her, hey, I remember you giving birth to me, but I also remember how I got into this body. So I told her. She didn't believe it. And then she told me it's a dream. Just forget. But I still kept it in the back of my mind. So when I was 23, I was recalling. I suddenly started recalling all the traumatic memories and everything that my mind just blocked. Good things and bad things. They all came back, and I realized, oh, that memory actually kept me going. Because what happened is, I was in a dark space, in a tunnel, like actually just dark space, but I felt myself as an awareness, but I had no physical body or any body around me, just my awareness. And then at some point I woke up and I felt this motion that I'm moving or something's moving towards me. I just couldn't understand what was happening, but I felt like as if I just woke up from a deep sleep, and there was this bright light in front of me, white light, and it was moving closer. And then I asked a question, who and where am I? What's going on? And then there's like a voice, which was very, it's hard to tell whether it was female, but I'm gonna say female, but it just felt gentle. It didn't it felt gentle, very soothing and comforting. And she said, you are going to Earth. And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, but what is Earth? And then she was like, your new home. And I felt really, really strange and confused. I didn't know what I should be asking, or whether, like, what is a question? What I should be asking. And am I even allowed to ask, who am I? So nothing was there. I was just empty awareness. So it felt really weird when she said, your new home. And I felt like I knew what she was saying, but at the same time I didn't know. So I felt like I should remember those things, but I was struggling to remember or recall what she was saying. It was too hard for me to understand. Anyway, she said, you're going to new home. And then I was like, okay. And then I saw the white light coming a bit closer and closer, and it was getting very noisy. So I saw figures, and it was a delivery room for a baby. So I saw them screaming, and I got curious. And then they were saying one word, which was like, kiss, kiss. And I was like, what are they saying? And the voice explained. They said, in their language, it means a daughter, a girl. And I was like, oh, a girl. What is a girl? And then she explained the whole reproductive system on Earth and the difference between a boy and a girl. And she explained the part about a girl is that the ability to bring a new life and create new life on earth, be a mother and everything. And it felt so fascinating to me when she was explaining, and I was like, wow, that is like a superpower. And I was like, can't wait to be a girl. And then she said, yes, it's time to go. I felt rushed. It's time to go, and I felt really nervous. I didn't know what was going on, what was happening, and I felt like I should ask more, but I didn't know what to ask. So the light was getting closer and closer, and I felt like I was going back asleep. And the voice started fading, so I was going back asleep. But the voice, the last thing it said was, remember that you are gonna be welcomed, and you're gonna be loved, and you're gonna be protected. Remember that. Don't forget. We are here for you. And I was like, it was fading in the background, and I was getting sleepy. I just said, okay, I will remember that. And the next thing I know is I'm in a physical body of a child. What I felt like it was very stiff and very heavy. I had no control over it, and I couldn't communicate. It was really strange. But I felt the motion, and I felt my mom's heartbeat. And in that moment, I still couldn't understand the language. There was no ability to understand, but I could understand the vibration. So the heartbeat of my mom, and she said something. I couldn't understand the language, but to me it felt like as if she said, I love you, and I will protect you. Yeah, and that put me at ease. I just remember thinking, wow, they were right. I am loved. And I fell asleep. And I told my mom when I was 4 that I remember you. You're my mom. The reason why I said that to her is when she came to visit me, I was living in the village with my grandparents. So I used to call them my mom and dad, and I didn't know that my mom was my mom. They made me call her sister. So I was calling her sister, and she said, I'm your mom. And I said, no, you're not. And then I recalled that memory, and I was able to remember that she is indeed my mom. And yeah.
How old were you when this happened, when you realized that she was your mom?
4.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 or 5-ish. Yeah, so I was... Yeah, that was the first moment where I gained awareness, like I became conscious that I am here. And it felt really exciting to be here. But the thing with that memory is it, throughout my life and challenging moments, I just kept reminding myself, one day I will be loved. One day I will belong. One day I will feel that I'm here and I'm welcomed. One day it will happen. And I'm very grateful because I do feel that way now. I feel welcomed everywhere I go. I feel loved by everybody I meet. So it was true. What they said was true. And I guess it's the same thing for everybody. Maybe everybody was told the same thing, but probably forgotten. But in my plan, before coming to Earth, I promised myself to not forget that memory, not forget those words. I tried really hard. So I guess I did it for a reason, in order for myself to remember that I am worthy of living. But I guess for those who are watching this, and including you, you are loved and you are welcomed and you belong here, every single one of us. And the fact is that we are already here, and that's the only proof that we need.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. Thank you so much, because sometimes I struggle with being so fascinated with these stories. To me, it's like incredible to be able to have this memory. And sometimes I struggle with like, okay, but what is the use of this memory? Right? Because I can get very fascinated by like listening to people about that. And then I get into this place in which, and for example, I talk to my husband, who is very much on like the logical side of things, very analytical, not too much in like, the creative, spiritual. And he's like, he asks this question, and it's almost like a reflection of something that has been in my mind when he says that out loud. And he's like, but what am I going to gain from that? And I love that you are bringing that here, because that is precisely what it is doing. It is the reminder that we are loved, that we belong here, that we are supported, that we are guided. And perhaps you are the little golden egg. You and the many people that have this type of memories, you are like the little golden egg that is keeping this memory alive for all of us to know that there is a bigger purpose, because life can get really hard, and you know that very well. So thank you so much for being brave, for the agreements that you have made at the soul level and at the human level to be doing what you're doing. I really appreciate your opening up your heart and sharing all of these stories, because I'm pretty sure you also connect with like very difficult feelings as you're doing it as well. So I have a couple questions. When you're having these out-of-body experiences, are they happening when you're meditating, when you're sleeping? How have they come to you?
Thank you. Thanks for the things that you said earlier. I appreciate that. The out-of-body experiences, they happen so when I was younger, as a kid, it would happen naturally on the call. It was just me deciding, I want to escape this house and I want to be somewhere else. So that was, as a kid, it was just happening naturally. I think kids are, when you're a kid, when you're young, you are closer to the spiritual realm. You still are building your character. Your subconscious is very open until the age of, I think, 6 or 7. So you're very much still connected to the spiritual realm. We are all connected, but you're just very open to everything. And back then it was just like this, on a click. But after the age of 23, it started happening during meditations. Or I had it for many nights in a row. But then they started decreasing in numbers. And then I started researching about astral projection and out-of-body experiences. And I tried to master it. And there was a point where I was a bit... I went over the line, I guess. I was using it as an escape almost, because the feeling that we experience on the other side is amazing. It's the love and freedom, and it's beautiful. It's unconditional love, and a human part of me did not want to continue this life. Sometimes it felt just too heavy, and I was seeking answers there instead of being here. And then when it started happening, because my ego was involved, it became harder to astral project and be out of body. And whenever I did that, I had twice been warned in the astral realm to go back. And I realized quickly, like, okay, my ego is involved. That's why I'm not experiencing the same bliss and same emotions and same answers like before. So it happens, and then after that, it started happening on its own. So I did not pursue it. I didn't look into it at all. So whenever there is a strong intention that I have, an answer I'm seeking, or a loved one that is about to pass away, they would come in astral realm, like in my room. They would tell me, let's go for a walk, let's go. And then I would go, and that's how it became. So whenever there is a strong message for me to pass on to somebody else, souls and spirits, they come and they tell me, let's go and let's talk. And whenever I have a strong intention, which is very pure, coming from a pure place, then I can. I'll be honest, I haven't had out of body experiences. Probably now it's been for a year now. Now, why is in the very beginning of your spiritual journey, or like in the peak, when you are still questioning things, I guess it was needed for me to be able to do that. But the more I started grounding myself and learning myself and living, I realized that the answers are here. It's in life, it's in the present moment, it's through ourselves, and it's through our heart, and it's through people and everything around you. So I don't necessarily, and anybody else don't necessarily have to be in the astral realm or outside of your body, because again, the point of the game was to be here, to be human. And yeah, with the astral body projections, I could get an answer for something, but then I would learn it from my mind. They would tell me, oh, the answer to the purpose of life is love. Now I would learn it with my mind, and it made no sense when I was here. But then later on, as I would go through some challenges and life in general, I would understand with my heart. So I don't necessarily, and we don't necessarily need it with our mind. We will not understand it. So because a lot of people ask, like, how can I astral project? How come I don't remember my past lives? And why not? And why others do? We don't need to. That's the point. We don't need to. If we did, then we would learn from our mind, and we would act from our mind on earth, and that's not helpful. The point of the game is to remember through our heart space, to learn from the space of heart, and then learn about love from a new point, from a beginner's point. Otherwise it would be like, oh my god, I can't say this because it's gonna be a negative karma. I gotta avoid this. If you remembered obviously all of your past lives and things. So yeah, to answer your question, astral projection is not necessary, but sometimes it happens, and when it happens, it is because there is a reason for the soul to be there. Maybe the soul is tired, or maybe the soul needs a little bit of support. Then they are able to astral project, and they're able to do that, but with a strong, pure intention from the other side, as well as from their own side.
So I know that you've lived in a Buddhist monastery or temple. Does that have anything to do with these realizations that you've had, or how does that play in your spiritual journey? Were you actually practicing Buddhism? Were you learning about it? Or how does that fit in this journey?
Thank you for the question. That's actually something that I've been thinking about today. The journey of the Buddhism. So last year, actually, this time of a month, it was August, I was fired from my job, so I had nowhere to go. I had no money, basically, and I decided that the life I was living in the big city, working in sales, wasn't for me. And I felt a calling, but I didn't know where it was leading. So like where you just feel that there's something you must do, but you don't know where it is. It just doesn't, that you can do more than this, but at the same time you don't know. So you try to play safe and it makes you anxious. So I was in that. And anyway, I got fired and I emailed this Buddhist monastery, which was in another state, and it was Mahayana Buddhism. I told them, yeah, I lost my job. Here's the thing. I would like to learn about Buddhism, and I need some place to recover in and some place to stay at. So they welcomed me and I went there. Actually, my expectations were, or intentions were, to learn about Buddhism, and then to heal and find a safe space for me to recover from everything that happened in my life, basically. I was looking for a space to hide in. I went there. I thought I would learn about Buddhism. I thought that is a big thing that I need to learn about. Then I quickly realized that it's not about Buddhism. I would hear people telling me about Buddha and Buddha's story. I wasn't interested much. I was like, okay, Buddha's done a good job. He's a cool guy, and I really, really am grateful for him, because whenever I see Buddha statues, I feel so much joy and happiness that his teachings are alive and they're guiding people. But I realized that it wasn't much about the religions of people, but it was about people. It was never about religions, it was about people. So when I was there, I just started learning about people and just asking them about their journey, about their faith. Why Buddhism? How did that impacted their life? And I saw monks and nuns pray and chant and give offerings to their gurus, and to me it was completely new, and I just kept following them. I was like, okay, show me your way. I'll do whatever you're doing. I'll do it. So they were doing that, and I adapted it. I adjusted and adapted it to be my own way. So they would do guru offerings and visualize. There were lots of visualizations included in their meditations, in their offerings, like visualizing their guru, washing their feet and giving them water. I realized that I do not have a guru, and I am not religious, but I love religions. And I thought, okay, how can I adapt here without changing myself? But also I was very open-minded to whatever comes. So I started following a nun, and I said, okay, I want to do the offering with you. And what started happening is, as I was doing those offerings, I started visualizing the whole world, children of earth, everybody, old, young, everybody, my friends, my family members, me washing their feet, offering them water, giving them flowers. And then I quickly realized the power of those practices, that having those practices, they do make an impact. And one of the things that I was very strongly, challenged with this. I was a believer in active help. So I would actively help people. If I see homeless person, I would talk and I would give them food, money, and that's how I saw help to be. And then I saw monks and nuns offering food to statues, and I was confused. I was like, but that's not help. How is that help? And then I just thought about it. And we would do chantings and pray for the world and peace in the world. I enjoyed those things very much. And I realized that what they do is a passive way of helping. And that is also very important. I was just watching and observing, and I realized how important it is to passively also support. How important it is to be safe. They were providing a safe environment. They don't talk back, they don't push their opinion, they don't give you advice, they don't aggressively tell about religion, anything. They don't do any of it. They don't harm. They don't actively do, but they are passively there. That is huge. They pray. They take time of their day to pray for your well-being, to wish something good for you, for people around. And I just realized how important it is. That is actually something that we forgot to appreciate. And I just thought of my grandma and my mom, my brother, and when we talk, they say, "Oh, I hope it goes well for you. Oh, I wish for you the best, and I'm praying for you," and things like that. And I just remembered that how precious that is. That passive way of support, when people just offer you their presence. They don't judge you, they don't criticize, they don't jump in, and just listen, and they're there. They're a safe environment. So that being in the monastery, that taught me, by watching people in their ways, it taught me more about compassion. I learned to be more open to the ways of living and to everybody's journey, and that everybody's journey is different, and everybody's way of supporting and giving love is different. Showing love can be in many various ways. It can be shown in so many ways that I've never thought about, and that helped me also take away some lessons, which is to balance my active way of supporting with passive way of supporting. The monastery had a routine of prayers and chanting, so morning prayers and chanting and evening prayers and chanting, which gave me this ability to have discipline and go inward more. And because I was in the monastery isolated, I knew nobody, I was in the new environment, I was able to go more inward and see what's going on in my mind. Because when we have our family members, our friends, it's easy to blame them, it's easy to react, it's easy to just put things aside. But when you are in the new environment, you take full responsibility for yourself, for your mind. And I was able to face the ugly and the things that the shadow side of mine that I've been postponing or hiding. And that was a great space to do it. But again, it wasn't about their teachings. Their teachings are very simple. It was the way they do things that inspired me to find my own way. So what I realized is the visualizations. For example, they meditate with visualizations. I never knew how, I guess I never appreciated how powerful it can be. They would teach us to visualize white light and a smoke and a tonglen, and that was heart opening. I would sit every evening and imagine me taking people's suffering in and then turning into black smoke and letting it out, and it felt really nice. Also, at some point I learned to visualize my emotions, and whenever I felt extreme emotions myself as a little kid with that emotion, and give myself a compassion. If I was angry, for example, I would imagine myself being a little me, 10 years old, and standing there angry and saying, "This is unfair, this is this and this," and I would allow her. Okay, I would be like, "Okay, you're allowed to feel that way, that's alright," and then just let her feel that way, and then hug her and tell her it's okay, we can find a way, and then the answer would come. I realized that their teachings, it was inspiring me to find my own way. And it goes to every religion out there. Maybe you feel the same way, but I feel like the religions were a map, almost like for human beings to look at it and then find their own way. But like Jesus, Buddha, they were showing their map. They said, "This is my map, look at it, I'm going from the space of love, and this is what I learned." And it was a map, right? But then our human brain likes to complicate things. So a lot of people got stuck on their map and saying, my map is better than your map, and your map is wrong, this and this. And they started learning with their minds instead of focusing on their hearts, and instead of focusing on what Buddha's heart was saying, what Jesus' heart was saying. And I realized that religions are actually good, and they will slowly lose the strength they have, but they will never be lost. They will always stay on earth as a map. And for us, it's our responsibility to look at that map. We can use it if we want to. We can say, oh, I'm following Buddhist teachings, I'm following Christian teachings, I'm following Islamic teachings. And then at some point of your life, you gotta put that map down and see, what about your map, the map that you're drawing from your heart, and see that the mountains that Buddha talked about are true for you. That's the same answer that you learned from your own life experience. Actually, this and this. So I realized that I could use religions as help and guidance, and I think everybody can, but not identify as that religion or their teachings, blindly follow it, but question it. And that was the fun part for me. I would sit sometimes, be like, well, I disagree with that. I agree with that, but I disagree with that. Let me think about it. And it was really fun to have discussions with monks and nuns, and everybody else, or other volunteers. So I guess the life in monastery has inspired me to discover more ways and adapt my ways, and actually ground me. It grounded me a lot and made me more practical, because I think when you go through spiritual awakening, people tend to become so high, and they forget about using it in a practical way, the things that they are learning, using it in a practical way, and it becomes so distant. But teachings of practices in Buddhism, they help you a lot to ground yourself, because they teach you about going inward, reflecting, and being in the present moment. But it doesn't mean that it's the right answer. It doesn't mean that the Buddhism is the right answer or the Islam is the right answer. Again, none of the religions got it right. That's what I understood. None of the religions got that one shoe that fits it all. No, it doesn't fit us all. But they can guide us, but they can't fit us all. We are more than that. But it had a huge impact. Many things. Most of them is compassion. Yeah.
My heart is smiling as I hear you talk about all of this, because I resonate with every single word that you're sharing. One thing that comes to mind as you're talking is that one of the biggest teachings or lessons that I've also gained from being very curious about Buddhist practices has definitely been compassion. And to what you are saying, one of the biggest impacts that it had on me was when I learned that compassion is an active verb or an active way to approach love. And in many ways, it can mean holding space, and that is active. And I love what you're saying, because that feeling of experiencing safety with someone that is just there for you openly, without judgment, willing to be there for you, for your pain, for your joy, for anything that is happening. I think it's something that we humans don't really have that example. For me, my way to help people was always also trying to tell them something that would fix their feeling or their experience or their situation. And then as I've learned from this type of teachings, I've learned that just being there for them openly and allowing them to express and to feel and to go through their own journey is also a huge way to show love. So I love so many things about what you just shared. The other thing that comes to mind is the name of the podcast, of this podcast, of The Way of the Heart. Because what I've realized is that the way of the heart is a way that is authentic, right? It's authentic to you. We each have our own blueprint. We each have a fingerprint, and that is going to manifest in this physical world in a different way. So yes, we have these guides, we have these maps, which I love that analogy. We have these maps, but then there's a point in which we get to the land where this map is taking us, and it's about us. Like, we have to experience this land. Like, the map is there if we get lost, but the experience has to be felt through our heart. It has to be explored through our heart. So I love so many things about what you just shared. The last thing that I'm going to say is that recently I've come to the realization that the highest expression of my spirituality is actually living a human life that I am proud of, right? That I am enjoying. Like, that is actually what I equal to spirituality. Living a human experience that is actually worthy of living, that I enjoy, that I am proud of. Because I tend to even use meditation as a way to escape, right? So like, we can use all of these tools as medicine. But I love a quote that I heard by a guy called Zach Bush. He said, the difference, and I'm not gonna get it perfectly, but he said the difference between medicine and poison is how often and the quantity of like this thing that we're taking, right? So I love that, to put it into like this practical way, because I could live meditating, but then that would be my way to escape, right? Not actually experiencing life. Or I could use meditation as a way to really sit down with my feelings and connect with my heart and connect with myself and understand what's happening. And those are two different approaches and intentions, right? So I absolutely adore everything that you're talking about. I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions, as we're almost close to 1 hour. I could hear you forever. There is a tagline, I guess, that you use a lot, the pathless path. What do you mean by a pathless path?
Oh, I love that question. Now, I think it was the out of body experience that I had when I was 23, and I was given a full life review up till that age. And at that point, I thought, I had no idea of what to expect, so I thought I've achieved nothing. I thought I've achieved nothing. I don't have a university degree. I don't have much money in my account. I haven't helped my brother enough. I don't think I've done anything in my life. So I thought, oh, I just failed at this human life thing. Wow. And I was given this full life review, which was very quick. I was shown everything from the moment I was born till the moment then. Every interaction I had on a daily basis with a waiter or a grandma on the street or someone who passed me by, we never even talked. We looked at each other or whatever. And they said to me, Arke, you've done well. You did very well. And I said, there's no way, I did nothing. And then they showed me, but look. And I could hear and feel the things people felt around me. Apparently the impact we have is huge, but we just don't know. We inspire people sometimes by just being. And they said, you simply were yourself. Look at that. And there were so many things. People, I don't know, I said something, I gave a compliment to somebody, or did help somebody, or I made somebody even cry, and I was not very nice, but it taught them lessons, and they just showed all of those nets. It was huge. And they said, you did well. You were just yourself. That's all you need to do. And I was like, but what can I do more? They said, you don't need to do, Arke, you just be. You don't need to do anything, you be yourself. And then they sent me back. That's when I realized actually the path we all seek to be figured out is actually pathless. And we have this free will to play this game fully. And you can change your path however you want. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the path created from your heart space is always going to be pathless. And it means that you are staying true to yourself. Because the heart draws, it creates with faith. And faith you can't completely see. You can't, if you have an idea, you have an intention, but you just don't know how to manifest it and execute that as an idea yet. But just follow your faith, your heart. And the path is pathless. It just appears one step at a time. You just listen to your heart, you take one step, and you start painting with the old, the new, unknown, and everything. And you realize that you take another step, and you look back, and you see, oh, that was the path. But only when you look back. But when you're going forward, it's not going to be clear and always have all the details of it. I realized that if we have the details of our path ahead, it's coming from our mind space. It's not coming from the heart. When it comes from the heart space, with love, you can create something that you thought is unimaginable, something that you thought is impossible. You can do impossible things with faith, and only when you accept that the path is pathless. You gotta just keep on going one step at a time. Then everything starts making sense, and you realize that actually it was all about the journey. One step at a time, you enjoy. The next step, you enjoy where you're at. And you realize that it was never about the destination. Destination isn't that fun, but it was all about the journey itself of how, for example, you made a podcast, how you got to this point. It was there, you tried many things and you enjoyed, you made a mistake, you were not happy with something, and then you were happy with something, but it all made sense. It was you enjoying and playing fully. And this podcast doesn't mean that it's gonna stop here. There are many things that you will do, and I can clearly see because you're glowing right now. And I think you don't even realize that, but you're just doing what you're meant to do. You are following the heart, and you are opening this to other people to follow their heart. So you are following your pathless path.
I'm very moved by everything that you have shared today. Thank you so much. Your authenticity and the love that you carry in your heart is just pouring, just I can feel it so much. I absolutely love your explanation of that, the explanation of how the heart creates. You put into words something that I have felt and I haven't been able to verbalize. So thank you so, so much. I recently had a images sometimes come to me, and that's how I feel my intuition is talking to me and my heart is talking to me. And I think it was 2 nights ago, and I was journaling, and I had this clear visualization of, I don't know if this exists. I don't know if it's like a game or if it's just something that my mind was trying to show me, this pathless path. But it was almost like with every step that I took, there was like lights that would turn on and like this kind of like trail that I was walking on. And I think this was an image that came to me because of this conversation that we are having right now. Because at the moment I was like, I think I know what this means, like one step at a time, but it was so clear that it was taking me somewhere, because every time I would take a step, a light would turn on. but I couldn't see anything else in front of me. And I think this is exactly what you're talking about. The last question, or the last two questions, if that's okay, that I'm going to ask you is, the first one, how do you, or what type of practices do you implement on a daily basis? What type of tools that help you stay connected to your heart, that help you stay in a more, grounded, aligned, peaceful place?
Thank you for the question. And thank you for sharing the visualization. I love that. I can clearly see that. On a daily basis, I'll be honest, I don't meditate daily. I find it hard to be in the lotus pose all the time, and I don't think it is necessary to be doing that all the time. But meditation is important, and I practice intentional living. And that changed the whole game. What I mean is, when you're doing the dishes, you do the dishes, and when I'm doing the dishes, I'm happy. I'm cleaning it, I'm like, it's gonna be clean, so when my friends come, they can eat from these plates and they can drink from those cups. And I feel really grateful that I have cups and plates. And when I'm drinking water, I tell myself I'm so grateful that I'm able to drink clean water and hydrate myself. And then when I drink water, I really enjoy the sensation that my human body can feel those things, the water and the hydration that is sliding through my throat, and it's just amazing. And when I'm eating food, I do a little prayer, close my eyes, and just say thank you for the food in front of my plate, because that food was delivered by many people, who harvested those veggies and fruits. They picked those things and drove it to the supermarket, and there were so many things that happened for that food to be on my plate. I just feel really, really grateful, and I tell myself how thank you, and to people in the world, thank you for doing this. And when I eat, I tell my body I am gonna take care of you, and I'm eating healthy, or sometimes I eat unhealthy too, and I enjoy that too. Tell my body this is the pleasure, and the pleasure of human meat suit. And the meat suit is temporary. We gotta enjoy it and have fun with it. And remind myself when I do those practices, I remind myself of the interconnectedness. We think that we are independent, but we are not independent fully. We'll never be independent. We are interdependent. Somebody picks the veggies, somebody plants a plant on the street, somebody built the roads, somebody made the car, and all of those things are interdependent. You didn't fully you're not fully existing. You need those things. You need the lights, electricity, water. You need those things to be running as well. When I remind myself, I feel a lot of gratitude, and I feel connected to people around me. I guess to the simplicity. And with my body, on a daily basis, if let's say my neighbors are loud, which happens sometimes, when they're loud, I really tune in with my body. I'm like, wow, I am able to hear noises. I am super grateful that my ears are working, and I can see this contrast of this noise and this. I don't get irritated, but I can choose how I want to react. So I first send gratitude to my body, and then when I'm peaceful, I can talk to my neighbors, which I do, and they understand, like, oh, they say sorry, so we're able to solve those things. It makes me happy. Same thing with heat, especially in Australia. It's super hot. It's easy to complain about it, but complaining gives nothing to me. So I just simply tune in with my body that I'm able to feel the heat. And then if I use a fan or something, I'm able to feel the wind hitting my skin. I can feel the contrast, and it just blows my mind that I am in this body and I have 5 senses and those things. So on a daily basis, I try to live intentionally. So whatever I do, whenever I plant something, I think about how it's gonna grow, but at the same time I enjoy it. When I talk to people, I'm simply tuned in. I just don't have the phone. I'm not thinking about anything. I just simply see the person and listen. And that brings me joy. And I connect and ask many questions. I try not to talk unless people ask me. I ask many questions, and because I want to get to know people, so I ask them many questions. And we live in a world where people talk to talk sometimes, and I like listening when they talk, so I don't mind that. I like learning, and so yeah, just living intentionally when I'm listening to people when they complain, being aware and asking them, oh, what made you upset? Oh, what happened there? Is there anything I can do for you? What would you like me to do? What kind of support can I provide for you? Are you seeking solution? Is there anything? So just being simply present and living intentionally, and reminding myself of every day. I tell myself, wow, here another day, and I'm a human. I'm human again. Wow, this is amazing. Um, I guess also other practical things. So gratitude is the most important thing, and I think it's something that changes everything. When you start becoming grateful, there will be more things to be grateful for. And I, yeah, thanks to gratitude, I started seeing heaven on earth, actually seeing the good in everything. So gratitude, intentional living, and keeping my heart open and my mind, and just speaking how I feel. This is Everybody has a right to speak how they feel. If you feel something, you say it. Staying truthful. Just with obviously intention of no harm. Just speaking from your perspective, saying this is what I feel right now, and I feel like sharing. Those are the things I do, and it helps me. Meditation wise, I do meditate on especially when I feel that I'm experiencing extreme emotions, like big emotions. I do visualization meditations, or sometimes when I have my thoughts, when I see that my thoughts are getting loud and I'm not able to be present, then I do tune in, I do meditations, and then I'm able to clearly see what my thoughts are saying, and then tap into the emotion behind those thoughts, and then regulate myself. But one of the, I guess, the key things on a daily basis to do is smile. I wake up and I smile to myself and to people around me. And yeah, when I meet a new person, inside of me I say, thank you for being with me. Because I feel truly grateful. People are so precious, and they come and go. Life is short, and they teach you something. Maybe you're not aware of what they're teaching you, but being grateful doesn't hurt. And when you say thank you internally, when you meet somebody new, you become like, you can see how the person changes. And looking in their eyes, they tell a lot of things. The words can lie, body language can lie, but eyes don't lie. When you look in people's eyes and in your mind you have kindness, you're saying thank you for being with me. I'm excited to learn together. You can see that people feel it. Maybe they can't tell you, but they can feel it. You can feel it in their eyes, that they feel that you're wishing good. So those are the simple things I do. Yeah. Very simple. Very boring, but simple.
I love simple things like that, because they always bring me back to this simplicity of life, right? That I think that I laughed when you shared this one with one of your out of body experiences where you realized that you were taking life too serious. And I think, of course, every single person has gone through their own type of pain, and it's understandably that we see life from a serious place and a painful place. And at the same time, the simplicity of practices and the simplicity of joy just really is the reminder that we can make life simpler, and find the joy and the beauty in it, in those places. So I love the simple practices. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to start implementing some of those, because I love the idea of saying thank you to someone when I meet them. The last question, and you've been speaking to it the whole time, but if there's anything else that you would want to add to what it means to you to live from the heart.
Thank you for the question. What it means to me to live from the heart. I think it's to stay true to whatever is in the moment. So if I feel something, I simply allow myself to feel. If somebody feels something, I simply allow and accept everything, and then work with it. And I don't jump in with my mind. I just simply wait for my heart to feel and see what's going to happen next. Living from the heart space, I guess, means openness, acceptance. I live and look at everything and every human being, every situation like an open canvas. No prejudices, nothing there. And I just accept how it is. I accept myself in the moment. I let and allow myself and other people to be flawed, to not be perfect, to have arguments and disagree and have imperfections or talk about these things. Just simply allow and accept everything that comes our way, not label anything, and just compassion in my heart. So I guess I just follow whatever comes and whatever feels loving and right without judgment. But at the same time, you've mentioned this before, compassion is an empathy in action. So when I live, I remind myself, am I living compassionately? Am I leading with my heart? So I act with empathy, even towards myself and other people. So if I'm having negative thoughts, I allow myself, and then I act empathetically, work with it. Same with other people. With the heart space, I think leading with love is accepting, supporting, forgiving, and being there for yourself and others. And then everything else that is like betrayal and hurting and all of those things, I know that they aren't love, so I do the opposite of it, which feels right and which feels tinglish in your heart. It's like a loving feeling is very tinglish and safe, and it just makes you feel lighter. So I try to live lighter and speak my truth. Yeah, and allow other people to speak their truth and see what comes out of it. Yeah. What we can do with it together. Yeah. But yeah, allowing, I guess, living from this heart space. heartfulness, just allowing everything, accepting life with everything that it carries within. It's not labeled for me as hard school or easy school. It's just life, and it's supposed to be the way it is. You just take one step at a time and accept it.
I love that. Arke, thank you so, so much for this conversation. My heart is really open. You are in Australia. I am in Miami right now, so we're 12 hours apart. You're ending your day. I'm beginning my day, and I'm beginning my week. And I cannot think of any other way, any better way that I would choose to start my week than this conversation. My heart is so happy. I feel energized and recharged after talking to you. I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so, so much for your time, for your energy, for everything that you do. Where can people find you, and anything that you would want to share as we wrap up our conversation?
Thank you. And thank you for being you. Thank you for doing this. And I'll be cheering on your journey. Hopefully we can catch up again in a year or so. Let's see if we can do it again. That would be cool. Where can people find me? On my website, it is arkemuratova.com, or my YouTube channel, Divine Inside. And I have Instagram where I am active. And last thing I would say to people is to not stress too much, just to have fun in life and treat life as a beginner. Even if you know that you've had many lives and whatever there is, or you've done regressions, or you feel like you've been here before, that is all great. But still, you're a beginner. You've never been this person that you are right now. So allow yourself to make mistakes, allow yourself to be flawed, allow yourself to love, and allow yourself to experience attachments as well. Attachments are good, they lead to love. If you are attached in a healthy way, they lead to love, they're greater love. But yeah, be a beginner for life, and remember, I guess, that you are, and every single one of us are, still in the journey of becoming ourselves. And it's a lifetime. This whole lifetime is about becoming yourself. And you are building that. You choose who you want to be. So be a beginner, allow yourself. And if you have a question to yourself, a lot of people ask this, who am I? You are multi-layered, you are complex, you are beautiful, you are full of wonder, and you are ever changing. You're gonna be changing and growing endlessly, and you're still becoming. So you are who you ought to be, basically. And yeah, I will leave it there. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to your journey as well, and to see where this podcast leads. It makes me very, very happy. The name of the podcast, your purpose, the way you are, everything brought me so much joy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Arke. I'm moved again. Thank you so much.